We are live, the American Red Devils, talking about Manchester United transfer window coming to a close. We got 10 days left. Need to do some deals. We need a goalkeeper. Need a central midfielder, sir. How we doing?
How we doing? We had the first game in the books. Tough defeat to the fucking Gunners. We'll get them back, I hope, down later in the season when we play them in Arsenal at the Emirates. But great to be here. Transfer window. United still have a lot to do. Solid window in certain areas, but holes remain. Mostly backup in CDM or maybe a starter. We wanted Balaba. It's not happening this summer, so I don't think we're going to get a Balaba quality signing, nowhere near it. But we definitely need someone to challenge. Collyer's out. Casemiro can't play every game. He can't even play more than 60, 70 minutes each game. And then, who knows what's going to happen with Ugarte. So either way, we need a number 6, and I think we need even more so than a number 6. We need a goalkeeper because neither of our number 1 or 2 are good enough. Basically 10 days left in the window. But a lot of work because you know what? I think Ineos thought they would have foisted more of these fucking bomb squad players on the global European football market, but they have not. And it's what? We got like 11 days left in the window, less than 2 weeks. Garnacho's still hanging around. Sancho, nothing on Anthony. I'll see where you at. That's even before you get into the players that we'd like to move on, like the Hojlunds, who are now for sale. Maybe a Bayindir if we're going to bring in another goalkeeper.
We're not selling Bayindir. Look, we are in the midst of a need to sell the bluffers ASAP. And Manchester United are in sort of crisis mode as it relates to selling. The only thing we really did was get Rashford's wages off the books, and you can see the impact already. I feel like if we could get Garnacho off the books for $50 million, if we could do an Antony permanent deal, if we could get upfront money for Hojlund, that could be a Kamavinga move late here. But Chelsea and everyone know, wait till the last day of the window, get United when we're most desperate. And we are. We are holding a bunch of assets we don't want. I almost feel like dropping Hojlund made everything a lot harder for United going into the last day of the window. There's almost too much to do on the sell side, and everyone's just lowballing us. And, if you want to be honest, the best strategy would be to hold on to these players because you got to send a message to the market. We're not going to mess around. And Garnacho is really playing loose and fast here because we're going to get into our transfer update. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate everybody tuning in. But Garnacho turning down Bayern Munich, which is a viable deal. He could go to Germany. I think it'd be a great fit for him, win titles, then make the move to Madrid or some, bigger club than Bayern. It's hard to get there, but probably you're looking at Spain. He needs to play in the World Cup. He's already dropped from the Argentina squad. He's turning down Bayern. He only wants Chelsea. It feels like he's in cahoots with Chelsea. It feels like Anthony's in cahoots with Batiste. It feels like all the players that we're trying to get out of the club are in cahoots with everybody else. And it's not looking good right now for Manchester United.
No, I think you nailed something, which is that for players where we still have some leverage, like Alejandro Garnacho, who's on a 3-year deal, who's not on big wages. I think he's on $50K a week. So he's not burning a hole in our pocket. He's a youngster. We don't need to get rid of him this window. We'd like to, of course. We want to help him finance a number 6 and a number 1, but we don't need to sell. Sancho, we need to get rid of. We need to do everything possible to push him out of the club because he's got 1 year left, and anything we can get would be a bonus right now. But Alejandro Garnacho, you have to play hardball. Chelsea have paid a lot of money for a lot of players, and they paid for players in his position or sold players in his positions, right, to the likes of Arsenal. And he has outperformed even Madueke in terms of goals and assists last season. And he went for, 55 million pounds. So anything they even know anything below 45 or 50 is not really reasonable or market. But like you said, he's going all in on Chelsea, turning down a bigger club. Let's be honest, Bayern Munich is a bigger club than Chelsea. It's just Chelsea has the London factor. I don't think Alejandro Garnacho would take the fucking
But
German.
they need him. They need Garnacho. This is what's crazy.
Bayern do.
No, Chelsea need Garnacho. They want Garnacho. They need another attacker. They got rid of Madueke. Garnacho's the fit. Everyone knows this deal is going to be done. It comes out United 150, Chelsea 125. You got to be kidding me.
25?
You got to be kidding me for his numbers. And it's just to be at that stage with 10 days left. It means like we're not going to get these moves done before the deadline day. Like this is going to come down to the wire. They're playing chicken. 35-40 is really probably what the deal is going to get done at. But when you're this far away in valuation, Chelsea are being cheeky. You're really looking at United not being able to do anything else in the market. Like, think about it today. We planned this live stream. I thought for sure we'd be in for a keeper. I thought for sure we didn't be in for like real tangible links to a backup plan for Balaba. And you can't go for 100 million Balaba or bust. And United are getting into this territory where you look at dismissing Ashworth early in the window. And you and me were arguing about it before we got on the live stream. Look, Ineos has done a great job, 200 million quality attacking talent, but do you only invest in the red meat signings, the sexy signings? Like, you need a goalie, you need a CDM, and I feel like you kind of have to get those basic deals done that were glaring coming into the window. We've ignored that completely. We've signed great players up at the top of the pitch, but this midfield is a problem. Then you loan out Collyer. You got no plan B. It's just the same old from United. Just running a season back with glaring holes in your team that are going to affect your prospects long term. And honestly, if we could clean up goalkeeper and CDM, we could push for top 4. And I just am concerned that we're leaving too much business late on the sell side, and we're not going to be able to get the key players in for United to perform well over the 38-game Premier League season.
Yeah, and I'm not one to bail out any kind of owner in terms of giving them cloud cover, but they had a lot to do to begin with. The team had, glaring holes in the first place. They had 5 players on the outs, a bunch of which were attackers. So I think the priority was, first and foremost, was to get goal scorers after last season, after the lowest, number of goals we've ever scored in the Premier League era, obviously the lowest finish in the Premier League era. So I was happy with the signings they made, but they just left themselves a lot to do, especially because the second half, everything beyond those 3, Sheshko, Cunha, and Mbumo, were sell to buy. And we've not sold anybody, and I would have thought by the 20th of August, we would have gotten at least 1 or 2 players out in a real. I thought Batiste would have paid 20 million, 25 million for fucking Anthony. I thought the Garnacho deal would have happened by now, but I think the fact that Garnacho has said, I'm all in on Chelsea and nothing else, has limited our options. And at the same time, Chelsea, they've seen United. United is not a good selling club. And they want to get a deal here. And I don't even know if they want Garnacho as a player to participate in their team or as someone to play Moneyball.
No, they're going to
look at it for 25, and then we know we could sell him for at least 60 because he will be productive in the Premier League. He has been. And
he will play. He's a dual threat winger, can play on the left, can play on the right. I mean, and he's young. He's got to go. Amram fell out with him, but this is what happens when you fall out with your players.
Publicly.
Vintage Gamer in the chat, we're insane to sell this kid. I watch him at all the home games last year. He was only positive winger we had. Look, tons of assists came from Garnacho in key moments last year. He should be brought back into the team. We don't have a left winger to replace him. Look, we would be better off if he stayed. And him and Amram got along, but I just feel like what was said shows the type of player he is, and the Aston Villa jersey from Rashford. Look, he's a young player. His head's not quite on correct, and he's turned this into a situation. I just don't think he has the right people around him. Look, Rashford's a great player, has the talent, but does he have the right attitude? And, we do have an issue of attitude in the locker room, so I'd rather get these guys out. And I totally sympathize with the fact that he's a good player and you don't want to sell him for cheap.
But you know what? There's an argument to be made. We don't have Europe, but if you think about it, obviously with the way we like to line up under Amram, you don't need kind of the traditional wingers. You can use a Mason Mount as one of the 10s. You have more flexibility. You put a Kobe there, but I still think Alejandro Garnacho, especially that you've pushed out Rashford, you're not bringing Sancho back in. You almost certainly are not bringing Anthony back in. I think you can bring one of them back into the fold. He'd be the player to do so because he has real value.
No, but he burned the bridge so hard. Anthony is the one I think you can bring back into the fold.
But he's
only
better.
Because I agree. But because there isn't some drama with the manager, right? It's just kind of you're not good enough. Here's the thing. Why does Onana get a pass on bringing him back into the fold when he's been bad for 2 years? Like, you look at Hojlund.
Because he hasn't been a punk.
But for me, if you look at Hojlund, he's getting frozen out. Onana's just, who knows what's going on there? It's been told to us by Amram he's not being frozen out. Edward Perez says we have to hold firm. I agree. We have to hold firm on 50. If nobody meets 50, he ain't going. And if he doesn't want to get in line, like a lot of these players are going to have to get in line because we cannot sell cheap. We cannot sell cheap, especially Garnacho. It has to be 50. Edward says, I don't think Ruben Amram allows him back. Best thing to do is sell him, but we also have to stand firm on our price. If we sell cheap, it tells everyone they have to do so. Take us to deadline day. I already knew we were going to get taken to deadline day.
It's going to be busy. It's going to be a busy end of the window for United because of the sell side. And I think the fact is the one thing we have that's working for us is it is a World Cup year. Garnacho wants to be in that squad. Argentina could be pushing for
How is it a good thing for us? Because
it gives us one piece of leverage. They want to. They have to play, bro. Anthony has to play if he wants to get in the Brazil squad.
This is a mini Isak situation. It's like the idea. This is the new thing that's coming because look, NFL, American sports, you have the holdout. Now you have the hold in. So the thing is the hold in now is where players have injuries and then they just kind of train on their own and then they just ask for a new deal and they'll never actually play. And so I feel like we're going to have some hold-ins at Manchester United, like Isak going public, only winning the Scouse Bastard deal of 110, trying to get them a discount. Like Garnacho's trying to get Chelsea a discount. He's basically saying, I'm not going to let open market bid. I only want Chelsea, so you have to take this insane cheap price. It's collusion. It's like you're not allowed to tap. By the way, you're not allowed to tap players up. That's the thing. You're not allowed to go to a player. You're not allowed to tap them up. But
I mean, Batiste are doing that. Chelsea are doing that, and Chelsea have shown
it's not good. They got to get this under control because this is insane. And how especially he's a youngster. Look, there's a player there, but to not sell him at the right price, have him pound sand. Like you said, World Cup year, he's not going to play, and that's just going to ruin your career. Don't go the way of Jadon Sancho at the end of the day, and we have Hojlund, so much. I just why are we here? Why are we talking about this? We should be talking about United pushing on for top 4. We should be talking about a complete roster. And instead we're talking about United once again failing on the sell side, and that's limiting our options going forward. And speaking of adding more homework to the list, sir, we got Rasmus Hojlund. You're a big Hojlund guy. Your boys, you got to Denmark, hang out with Hojlund. What is it you got to say?
I do feel bad for Hojlund. He had a terrible season last year, but I don't think he's a bad lad. We never hear anything problematic with his ego or his work rate. And I think at the end of the day, United, even with Benjamin Šeško, who's a new player in the Premier League, we're going to need backup in terms of striker. He's 22. He's got pace. He obviously has talent. I think as a number 2 behind a hungrier, more able Benjamin Šeško, you would see a different level out of Hojlund. And also, given the fact that we have so many other players to sell, do we want another player that we need to sell in a cut rate deal to Italy where they get all the upside? Alone with an option to buy from Napoli. Obviously, Lukaku just went down with a big injury. They're now in for Hojlund in addition to, I believe, AC Milan was the Milan team that was interested in Hojlund. But they get all upside because, like I said, it's an option to buy at like 30
option
million.
To buy? Hey, I'll take that nice car. Yeah.
And by the way,
I'll give you an option to buy.
If I like it, if I crash it. By the way, if he does well, he'll be worth more than 30 million pounds. And if he doesn't do well, they'll punt him back to United.
What happens if he gets injured? It's on United. It's horrible. This is not a deal. This is a bad deal. This is a bad deal.
He doesn't have huge wages like Sancho. He's on the last year of his contract.
He has money up front. United have to get paid money. We're putting everything on the credit card. Ineos has to get money.
Haven't sold a player.
I honestly think the reason why Hojlund is frozen out and we're trying to push to sell him is because we need to raise funds because how aggressive we went in the market. And so once again, it's just the plan from the front office. Like Ineos has done good. I really feel there's a strong Amram, I think with the right roster he's obviously turned it around in multiple different ways, but this is a little disorganized. If you only had 200 million and you're putting everything on the credit card, don't you think you would get some other positions than what we did? And I just feel like if that was the case, now you got to foist Hojlund in, you got to do all this business late, and then we're not going to get a lot of money. Who knows where the club is financially as far as the PSR perspective, because it's all obfuscated under different, Red Devils Limited, etc. So Eric Morales says, sup lads. Perez says, I feel like we should keep Rasmus. Like you said, he's so young. He had a bad year, but so did the whole team. Here's the thing. If you're going to get anything from him, you got to get it for him now.
Up front, bro.
Because if he has another bad year, he's done. He's pretty much worthless if he has another bad year. So that's why you got to get cash. JG Wentworth, cash now. I need cash now.
Well, that's what we need. I mean, do we need to get off the books that badly? He's not on a huge wage. We still have games. We only have one. If Šeško goes down,
but no one's paying us for him, though.
So then why get rid of him? Is what I'm saying. He's holding up a spot. We want the money. I think the fact is we think we could actually sell him, and nobody else wants to buy.
But we're not getting anything. If here's the thing, we're not going to get anything.
Then don't do it.
Okay, but then you bring him back in the team, and he's pissed now because he got absolutely foisted against Arsenal.
They haven't handled it well. Right? They have not handled the whole, you're out well. I mean, did there need to be a fallout the day after the Europa League final with Alejandro Garnacho? Probably not. Did there need to be this big fucking fallout as soon as we have our first game this season because he didn't make the squad? Probably not. I don't know. I think they've been heavy-handed with this.
But it's also, we're kind of taking a hard right turn at the end of the season. Like Hojlund, he was involved in preseason. Onana, he was coming back to be the number one. Now all of a sudden they're dropped. The manager's doing damage control in the press. I feel like there's just too much business left late. Maybe take a cut rate deal for Anthony, focus on Garnacho. Like, I just feel like you had to kind of almost maybe take a bad deal or two to leave less business that you could focus on towards the end of the window. And with everything kind of blown up in our faces, adding Hojlund to the list and a loan to buy, that's just going to be a little difficult for me to get my head around. I don't think that's the best thing for him. If you're not going to get 35 million pounds up front, you keep him in the team. You don't kind of foist him like we did before Arsenal.
Because what if you get an injury? Then all of a sudden you're playing Mbeumo up front or Cunha up front, which are fine, but
not horrible.
Not horrible. They're better. I mean, they're better and more competent attackers than Hojlund. But Hojlund is a number 9. He is a target man. He's big. I think you keep him in the squad. Too much work to do, like you said. I think that's why it was so important for deals like Sancho that we got overly cute on. That you just like, fuck it. If Sancho's willing to go to Chelsea in any capacity in January, you just say, give us $5 million, take it and run, because it's just distractions. We have so many distractions. Too much work to be done. Too much work.
Prod says we need Rasmus for squad depth. Dylan, am I crazy for wanting to keep Rasmus more than Xerxes? Rasmus has had a bad year or two, but he's got much higher potential than Xerxes. Look, here's the thing. I think we basically need to get money. So whoever if we could sell Xerxes for 40, we'll sell him.
Yeah,
because if no one wants to, I honestly think we need to raise cash and try to get a midfielder and a keeper. But for me, it seems like I think we need to raise cash pay for the business we already did, and there's no chance we're getting a midfielder or a keeper, which actually scares me a lot. Look, don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, sir. We're going to talk about the next one, which is pretty funny here. Jaden Sandwich, what do we got here?
Sandwich does not want to go to Italy. He wants to just hang out on the couch, work on his video game skills, and then sign a free contract next year. That's the move. He's going to run down his contract. He will not do a deal. He turned down Chelsea, Club World Cup winners. He would have had a role to play there. They offered him 120,000 pounds a week. He's on 300,000 pounds a week. And what he wants to do is he wants to avoid any team paying any money for him so they can roll that in to a free transfer next year. And at this point, we have to cut our losses because nobody's taking Jadon Sancho because Jadon Sancho won't say yes to anybody, right? Roma are now the latest club. Juventus tried. Roma even reached an agreement with United around 20 million pounds. We'll see where that actually flushes out in terms of the details. But at the end of the day, if Jadon Sancho doesn't say yes to a life in Rome, it doesn't matter. So I think
why not?
Fucking great town,
good food,
amazing food. He would do well. He doesn't have to work that hard, but he's not going anywhere because he wants to run out his contract for free, and then sign a bigger deal.
No,
next year.
I don't think he wants to run down this contract or complete a hold in, as you would say. I think he just thinks he's better than he is.
No doubt.
I think ultimately he thinks he's better than he is, and so from Darmesh from Sky Sports has it on good authority. It's unlikely for him to join Roma. That was the latest club that's been linked. They made a bid for worth 20 million, but Sancho couldn't agree on the personal terms. We heard around it was like 9 million euros a year he was going to make. Not enough for Jadon Sancho.
What the fuck is wrong with this kid?
The delusion. And then what's amazing, there was a tweet that came out today about like Sancho's people briefing the press about how it's so unfair he gets all this abuse in social media. And I've never seen a player more toxic and delusional than Jadon Sancho, where you like literally a club signs you for big money. You have a horrible attitude. You only want to play for other teams. But it was also like the worst deal ever. So shout out Ed Woodward and co. I mean, it's really the contract that's the problem. I think United are at least learning from that, but it's going to take a while to get out of these old contracts.
No, I mean, there's a lot of names and fees that you could put in the worst ever transfer for Manchester United. It's hard to beat this one, just in terms of like, what did we get for him? Think about how long it took. It took 2 transfer summers. Remember that? It was 2 sagas, 2 summers. They wanted 108 million pounds. We ended up getting him for like 73 million pounds, gave him fucking insane money, and he wasn't that good. Had issues with fitness. Remember Ten Hag, who, we all had problems with, gave him like 3 months off to clear his head. He came back, couldn't give a fuck. So I can't wait to see the backside of Jadon Sancho. I think it's destined that we'll get nothing. But at the end of the day, he's a distraction, and the less distractions you have, the better. But Jesus Christ, like, what a deal. Fucking what a deal. The only thing I can hope, or try to be hopium, is like end of the window, some clubs are going to be desperate. There's desperation at the end of the window. We're desperate. People are going to need players. Come on, Saudis. Come on. They'd give them stupid money.
Yeah, but here's the thing. We have Anthony, who had interest from Saudi. He turned it down. We had Jadon Sancho's interest from multiple clubs. Turn it down. We have Garnacho, interest from multiple clubs. Turn it down.
Bayern Munich.
We have players that, like, one is toxic is insane. Like,
there's a reason they weren't invited on tour, I guess.
Edwards said, players resorting to shit like this is diabolical. Take the pay cut and go. You know, that's what we need. Why don't any of these players care about actually playing?
Because they're bad.
Like, I just don't understand.
They got like I said.
No, but to Anthony, to what is it? You know, the collusion with Batiste, to only do Batiste so that United can't get out of this contract, so that he goes back there on a cheap loan. He's like colluding with them to like get the best deal for not Manchester United, even though he's under contract at United. Same with Isak at Newcastle, which you just saw the drama unfold. It's just so ugly and toxic. And I just be like, at the end of the day, just take a little bit of a pay cut, go play somewhere else, somewhere the team wants you. United doesn't want you, just move on. This new trend where players are acting like spoiled, delusional, like nut jobs, like Jadon Sancho, it's not good for business, and it sucks because United want players out. There's interest in these players, and the players are turning it down. It's crazy.
And the only people it hurts themselves. Like, you think Jadon Sancho is going to turn his career around? No. Like, it's going one way. It's going the Jesse Lingard way, which is like he'll be playing in Korea, give it a couple years. He'd be lucky to. Like, yeah. I hate to say it, but like, there's been a lot of talent of players whose ego has just gotten in the way. And he's got plenty of years left in the tank. He's talented. He's probably more naturally talented than some of the players we're looking to sign. But he doesn't have the work ethic. And who the fuck would want... Like, he's lucky to get a Roma or a Juventus. Or, like, real clubs. Chelsea wanted to buy him. And he's going to end up, like, you know, he'll be in the MLS in a couple of years. So I wish him luck. You know, fuck him. Like, he sucks. Jadon Sancho, this is a bad one. We're getting kicked in the teeth. And this collusion is... He has no one to collude with. He's colluding with himself. He's like, I want a year off. I want to play video games, I guess.
All right, let's go through the bomb squad list, sir. Who do you have? And, you know, who's going to leave at what price? And who's going to stay? Like that. We're going to go down the list. Bomb squad, I would define bomb squad plus Hojlund. He's not a bomb squad member, right? He didn't fall out with anybody. I think he's tried his heart out. So give me who you think goes. And where do they go? How much?
I think Garnacho will go to Chelsea. I think that deal will happen. I think it'll be less than United want and more than Chelsea have kind of postured. So I think it'll be like 38 plus 7. You know, it'd be like one of those deals. It won't be great. It'll be below market, but it'll be money. I think nobody takes Jadon Sancho. I think he goes for a free transfer next summer. So I think that's at the zero.
He's just going to sit out all year. Just sit out and not play. I mean, it seems to be going that direction. The Anthony, what do we got?
I think Anthony is an interesting one because I think United has a little bit of the cards. He's still on a long-term contract. He actually did well. Of all the bomb squad players, he did the best. So I think they might play hardball and be like, listen, dude, like Batiste, we're not giving you no loan again to nowhere. So they might try and play hardball with him. But I think at the end of the day, we might only be selling one of these players. And I think that's probably Garnacho. Tyrell Malacia, where you at? He ain't going anywhere. Hojlund maybe a loan, but then again, it's going to be like I don't get the deal. Like upside for them and nothing
so
for
only
us.
Garnacho, really?
Yeah.
Only Garnacho is going to be sold, and it's going to be less than the 50 that United have quoted. Look.
What do you think, sir?
I'm probably close to that. I would like a loan fee for Anthony. Yeah. I would like, I think there's
obligation to buy, right? Like
I think Hojlund will go. It will not be ideal deal, but we froze him out, and he's going to move, and we're going to get his wages off the books. We'll hopefully get a loan fee for Anthony. I think Garnacho gets done 35, 32 plus. I think even with the add-ons, you're not going to get to 40. It's going to be a tough deal because Garnacho, I argue that 10 million pounds is probably the difference between him playing well and not falling out versus, you know, if he didn't fall out with Amram, it could be 50, 60.
Easy.
Fallout, collusion, you're going to get, what, 30, 40. I think that's...
then there has to be a big sell-on, because that's their play. Like, you got to, you know, if you're going to take a cut rate deal for Jadon Sancho, Alejandro Garnacho, you need to fucking get like 25% at least sell-on fee when they inevitably sell him to Spain, to Real Madrid. You know, that's coming.
Edward Perez, who wouldn't want to play in Italy?
Honestly.
Yeah, I totally agree. Just real quick, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Helps out the stream, help us get found by other Muppets like yourself. Also, drop your fan questions in the chat. We're going to get to them at the end of the stream. Right now, we're going to go into some speculation as far as Hopium and if we were able to do some deals. Look, for me, I think we're sold to buy. I think we're sold to buy to finance the old deals. But if United can make some cheeky moves, deadline day, goalkeeper, CDM, Apparently, there's like, this is tier smoke, and when we say tier smoke, it means basically like nobody with any real credentials is suggesting that this is happening. So, tier smoke means like people start talking about it, and then maybe like a tier 1 or a tier 3 might come out and actually link us to it. But Kamavinga, according to reports in France, United are interested. Look, we were interested when he was coming out of France and going to Real Madrid. He's surplus requirements there. There's a few players Real Madrid are trying to sell. Maybe they're raising some money. Could United get him for 45, 50? Could we loan to buy? I would like a loan to buy deal for Manchester United for Eduardo Camavinga, sir. What a player.
We never get any of these good deals. That's been the one thing about Ineos. I've been encouraged. I think this transfer window has been solid. They definitely made mistakes. They definitely haven't finished the way we wanted them to finish. There's still 12 days left. Camavinga would be a great player. I think Balaba would be better because he's Premier League proven, and playing in Spain is a totally different thing on a Real Madrid side. But if you could get a deal where they're, when can we take advantage of the market? When do we get to swoop in?
Sorry, we only get
a
the
good
boot.
deal?
We only get the boot. We only get stepped on. That's
Sheshko felt like a good deal, actually, to be honest. And some of those other deals.
But watch Yorkerish after that Arsenal match. Yeah, he looked like the better deal. Looked like we signed the better player.
He's 22 too.
Hasn't even started
29,
yet. Camavinga is injury prone. Shout out Prod. He says solid CDM, but injury prone. So look, every player has their issues, and even Isak has injuries, but Liverpool are already at 110 million. The question is value, and can they make a difference in that midfield right now? Because you look at it, and for me, I wouldn't be as worried if we didn't loan out Toby Collyer, right? We loaned out a CDM. We only have Ugarte and Cass. Ugarte looked absolutely horrid coming in against Arsenal. Cass can't go the full amount of time, so you're already having issues. It's the first game.
I am not as worried about Collyer because he hasn't really shown that he's got what it takes yet.
But you need a body. You need somebody.
I don't disagree, but he hasn't shown yet.
So it's just hard to get a body.
The real thing that fucks you is that Ugarte has gone sideways. Like if he was a player that was encouraging, that could fit into the system, you would not be as worried. We got 2 players. We could put somebody else in there. You could put Martinez. You could figure it out, given the 3 at the back where you get extra coverage with the center backs. That being said, Ugarte is gone completely sideways. Casemiro is Casemiro, right? Like you said, he doesn't have the legs to play probably more than 60 minutes or a game a week. You need somebody else. He's not. He's a big money signing. Camavinga is going to need big wages. He's as attractive in many ways as Balaba because he's got so much upside. I think they're going cheap and good. That's where this Sevilla lad who we'll get into in a second came out of nowhere. This feels more reasonable given the fact that we haven't been able to sell anybody. His fee is low. We're talking about
buyout,
Lucien
right?
Ugume. He's apparently got a 30 million pound buyout clause at Sevilla. He's a poor man's Balaba. He's not nearly as quick. Obviously, he's not Premier League proven. Plays in Spain, but he's good and cheap. And also, when you think about it, Casemiro's going next year, so you could argue bringing in a player like this as a stopgap. Casemiro leaves on a free next year, and then you go for Balaba because it's all about midfield in the next 2026 transfer window. So I like it because I like players that are low profile, that aren't a lot of hype and noise and good. I want a Patrick Dogu type signing, right? 20 million, all upside, raw, and we could use that. Obviously, we'd love a Balaba.
Yes, we would, but then you're kind of shipping Collyer then, right? You're bringing in someone young, then you're going for Balaba maybe again next summer. So it's just, for me, that's where you get into the director of football analysis where it's look at the roster. Cass is aging out. We got to replace him. Ugarte's not the guy. I know he's not the guy. Wish he was the guy. Sorry, you're not. Those 2 guys leaving. You get someone young now, and then you Balaba next year. I think you're in a good spot, and maybe you have the option on Collyer. That would make sense from a DOF perspective. So I do like this profile. They have been all over the shop as far as exactly Balaba is a certain profile of player. When it comes to Lucien, he's absolutely different. Warden, Warden's a passer, right?
Very good player though too.
You also want that profile to be complementary when Balaba is the progressor, tackler, win the ball high, and then you have another option for someone who can spray it, which I think Casemiro did a great job against Arsenal. So I just feel like Ineos showing they're all over the shop. They're letting the market dictate what the midfield will look like, not having a plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, go down the list of exactly what they want. And I just feel like it's a little scrambled eggs at the moment, probably because we fired Ashworth. But Barada and Wilcox have to figure this whole thing out because it feels like the market is literally dictating what United is going to do. And that's what Woodward did. That's what Arnold did. That's not what we should be doing now when we are bringing in a director of football who wasn't supposed to be the director of football, but we fired our director of football, and now our technical director with no experience at it being a director of football is now our director of football. So it sounds like that's what's happening at United, and we should be a little better than that.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's the fact that we just ran out of budget and they thought they would sell players. They haven't. Maybe they could have gone for a cheeky $100 million bid if we even sold a Garnacho for $45 million. That hasn't even happened yet. So I think part of it's been just limitations and funds and the fact that they've been the bomb squad is blowing up, bro, in their face at the end of the day.
Yeah, we need like an image of like someone trying to defuse the bomb, like Mission Impossible.
Yeah, boom, mission accomplished. Wharton is a real player. But he's going to be expensive too. He's not going to be as expensive as Balaba.
He's totally different than
million.
Balaba. He's a totally different player, and I just feel like
he's
that
like
just shows
Manu.
that
he's
we're
like
just so. Who's available? Who's
available? This guy's available.
Give me a list of 6 that are like that's literally the plan. Is like who's available right now. You can see the two compared here. Look, I like Agome. Looks like a proper player, younger, doesn't have the injury problem. You can see
cheap.
Like while Kamavinga, outperforms in carrying, possession 1 and forward passes. There's much more upside. With the youngster. So I would prefer to go with a cheap, young prospect who's a little raw that can, help us over the long season because Ugarte had injury problems. Casemiro has always had injury problems. And, we did lose Eriksson. So there's a lot of players that were doing that job that next to Bruno and the two that we did lose and are going to go away. So we need to be prepared in CDM.
And Kamavinga would need huge. I'm sure he would justify giant wages. Agume, wouldn't need to start. You can start Casemiro. I know that's not, he could still do a job, but it doesn't put the same pressure on him. Whereas like, hey, you have to be the guy because he knows he can be a backup. Speaking of backups, Toby Collyer, he made his move to West Brom on a loan for the year. No option to buy. Clearly a player that's rated.
Not for sale.
Not for sale. And I think this is what he needs. To be honest, I think he needs 30, 35 games a year in the championship, getting bloodied out and getting some real experience that he wouldn't have gotten at Manchester United. So I like this deal, but like you said, you do need to bring in another player at the end of the day.
No, and Nathan Salt, shout out to Nathan Salt, who's covering the academy, does a great job. Great follow on Twitter. Talked about asking Ryan Mason at West Brom about Toby Collyer. Already said good, humble kid and wants to work, wants to be a part of it. You can feel that as soon as you just speak to him. I think he has this vibe. I really want to see him succeed. Youngsters going on loan at United haven't really done well, and this is one I'd like to see him have a great season at West Brom and come back.
No, 100%. You'd like to see, we have so few successes. Honestly, like what other than Ahmad going to Sunderland, I can't think of many loan deals that have turned out well in recent memory for Manchester United. So you'd like to see Ineos get that right. It seems like the right setup. Championship is a great play. It's much better to go to the championship than go to Spain or a lot of the other countries in the top 5 because of the physicality, and the physicality is replicated in the Premier League,
especially for the youngsters.
Especially his position, CDM. So I like this move. I hope he comes back. And if he does well, it gives you an option for next summer because maybe he's good, but maybe not quite the level we want for United next year. Then you can maybe sell him, maybe make some money. That's what other clubs do. Not Manchester United, but some clubs do that.
All right, we're going to wrap up the United transfer news live stream here. We're going live a lot more at the American Red Devils YouTube channel, so please like and subscribe. Do all those things. Comment in the chat. Let us know, sir. We got to wrap it up. It is not over. Ineos started slow. They kind of sprinted a little bit there. Seems like they're catching their breath. What would you grade the window so far for Ineos and Manchester United? What would you give your grade?
You're I want to hear you're like, cook him. This guy, like the strictest grader in the world.
You're up.
I think give it everything. If we just ended today, we got nothing else. Right?
Today.
We got no goalie. We got
Bluffers stay the whole 9.
Bluffer. It would be like a C, because I do think they deserve credit. It could be much higher. It could be a B, B plus if you get into even just one of the 2 problem areas. Even a Saint-Lamens would go a long way. I think they have strengthened an area that was a big, big weakness in Manchester United in goals. We couldn't score goals last season. We brought in 3 goal scorers. I think they addressed one area while still leaving holes in the squad. If they can't move players.
But if you can't move players, and then you look at who you have, then you have Anthony, you have Garnacho, and then you have so many attackers, and you have nobody who could play in that mid. It's like, to me, it's a little irresponsible from the director of football and roster management. I got to see as well. You got to sell, you got to buy. Like the Glazer, Arnold, Woodward playbook is just bazooka spend. All Ineos did this time was like red meat bazooka spend. Like they haven't done clever sell. sell deals that we need to raise money. We haven't done the boring work. United always need the boring work. The boring work is getting rid of players, getting rid of contracts, signing, maybe a young CDM or maybe a solid backup goalkeeper is the boring work. And I think Dogu is an example of that. Heaven is an example of that. And look what that did for United. I want more of that. We did like the big, sexy attacking bazooka signings. We need some more Heavens, Dogus in the midfield and at goalkeeper. So at the end of the day, I think if you could get a few of those in, sell some of the bluffers, or at least get the loan to buy set up for success, not like Jadon Sancho where that deal fell apart. I think you can get to a B+. I think you can get to an A-, but it's all going to come down to deadline day, and I don't think we have enough ammo left in the kitty to do it.
And Dogu is the template in Heaven. Like Dogu, 20 million pounds, and that guy...
Cheeto, Secco, Kone, those guys.
They've done really well with the youngsters, but I think especially Dogu, because a lot of questions around him, didn't know him, came from a late Shea, and he had a little bit of a scrappy start, right, first 6 months of the season because he was thrown in the deep end. But if you've seen the progress he's made in the last 9 months, he could be one of the best left backs in the league in a couple of years. He just has the potential and the upside. And that's what we need to do for the next two positions. You don't have to get Balaba this year. I'd love it, but get this fucking kid in Spain. He's a player. He can be a backup, high upside. Same with Sen Lamens. He doesn't have to be your number one today. He's not a Donnarumma, but a lot of upside. And I think they need to get that type of track for the last two signings if I was them. But, like I said, they're still they got the bomb, bro. It's ticking. It's ticking around their neck, and they don't have any way to defuse it.
All right, no way to defuse the bomb. We're going to end it on that point. Ending the live stream. Appreciate everyone for tuning in.